everybody, and welcome back to our introduction to Streets of New Capenna. So now we have more cards we can go over, and apologies if I hit anything I've already hit before. We've got more story for Streets of New Capenna, and I just want to go over some of this before we hit the pre-release season for the set. So this is not an official us getting sneak peeks in yet. These are just some of the cards that they've shown us ahead of time for the set. We can expect a much larger dump of information, I think next week or the week after. Once that happens, I'll be posting more videos. We'll talk more about those. But for now, let's just hit the big ones that they wanted to go ahead and show us to try to build up some hype for the set. The first one that they showed us was Rafine Scheming Seer. So they showed us each of the three heads of the families. This is one of them. This is for the brokers. This is a 1/4 Sphinx Demon. It has flying, has ward 1. Whenever you attack, target attacking creature connives X, where X is the number of attacking creatures. Connive is where you draw X cards and you discard X cards, and then you get a +1/+1 on the creature that you've chosen to connive for each non-land card that you've discarded. The brokers being being very fitting with the brokers, where you're controlling your opponent, what they can and what they can't do. In this case, you're able to draw into what you need, and then you're able to discard the cards you don't necessarily need, or maybe that you are okay with discarding. Maybe you can cast them back from your graveyard, what have you, and then you're buffing up the one creature really big, and probably you're attacking with quite a few others. So this is a great way to control the board, control your hand, and also be able to establish more dominance if your opponent decides that they have to block these creatures. So this is a pretty good threat to have on the board. Next up, we have the head of Maestros, which is Lord Zander the Collector. He's quite a bit more expensive than the other leaders are, since he's a 7-mana card. He is a 6/6 Vampire Demon Noble. He is the head of the vampires after all. When he enters the battlefield, then target opponent discards half the cards that are in their hand rounded down. When he attacks, defending player mills half their library rounded down. And when he dies, target opponent sacrifices half the non-land permanents they control rounded down. So he's pretty much nasty no matter what, when he hits the board, when he attacks, when he dies. So the only way around him is to have him discarded from your opponent's hand if you're going up against him, or just to play him. The Maestros are pretty brutal. I'm excited about seeing what sort of control they go for, since they are running blue-black classic for control, and then red for removal stuff. So this definitely seems like it's very vampire-esque. The other vampires we saw in Innistrad Crimson Vow did something very similar, where you can still focus on having your opponent discard, and you're able to swarm the board out with a bunch of your vampires and control. So I'm excited about that. They also showed us the head of the Cabaret family, which is Jetmir Nexus of Revels. Most of this family is not so much themed towards what type of creatures you're going to see, though they did tell us recently that we would see a lot of elves and a lot of the lion people. So this one is a cat demon, a 5/4, and creatures you control get +1 power, have vigilance as long as you control 3 or more creatures. They get +1/+0 and have trample as long as you control 6 or more, and they get +1/+0 and have double strike as long as you control 9 or more creatures. So they definitely stack up. So of course, if you hit the 9 creature requirement for the final ability, then you're getting +3 power to all your creatures total. That does stack, and then they're each gonna have vigilance. Looks like they're still gonna all have trample, and they're all gonna have double strike. So that is pretty nasty. Double strike and trample is a huge combo, so I'm looking forward to seeing what else these cards can do. For each of the families, we also got to see their charm. We have the Cabaret Charm, which is an instant. They're all going to be instants, all 3 of these. So you choose one. Cabaret Charm deals damage equal to the number of creatures you control to target creature or planeswalker, or creatures you control get +1/+1 and gain trample until the end of the turn, or create 2 1/1 green and white citizen creature tokens. What we've seen so far of the Cabaret is that they are very swarm heavy. They're going to flood the board out with a bunch of creatures, and they're usually going to have spells that maximize off of board control, while also buffing up creatures based on the board control that they already have, their board dominance. So the Cabaret will be pretty focused on the green. is from what we've heard. Landfall effects will be pretty big for them, because green's famous for pulling out lands onto the battlefield from your deck, allowing you to play maybe an extra land or so on your turn from your hand. And then of course, green is very good about flooding. I mean, Elf decks is a classic for green, and then you're going to run a lot of tokens usually when you're running green plants or elementals or something of the like. I'm not entirely sure what sort of creatures we can expect to flood out with, but here, even with this one charm, of course, I think you're mostly using this to deal the damage or to get +1/+1 to all your creatures, but there is a final effect here that creates 2 1/1 green and white citizen creature tokens. Kind of gives us a hint that even if you don't already have board control, then this is a way to get a little bit more out. But 3 mana for 2 creatures probably isn't that big a deal unless you're comboing it with something. Odds are I see this charm being used for one of the first 2 effects, and it gives us a nice sneak peek into what we can expect for the Cabaret family. Then we have the Obscura charm. This one allows you to choose 1 of 3 effects as well. The first one being that you can return target multicolored permanent card with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. You can counter target instant or sorcery spell, or you can destroy target creature or planeswalker with a mana value 3 or less. The Obscura being very big about control, this definitely makes sense, that they can bring something back that probably has a when this enters the battlefield effect, that they can counter something that's fairly classic for blue, so I would expect to see that. And then destroying something that has a mana value 3 or less is pretty heavy on the black, so I definitely think each one speaks to a color that you're looking for in this charm, which is really nice. And it also tells us a little bit more about the Obscura, though not more than I already knew since I was excited about Obscura. The Cabaret is something I'm trying to dig more into myself, but with the Obscura we already knew to kind of expect that this is going to be a control heavy color scheme, because we were told that's blue and black, and we've also been recently told that the Obscura will be focusing more on the blue, so that'll tell us that we can expect a lot of return stuff back to your opponent's hand, that you can counter a lot of their spells. And so the fact that it's also allowing you to pull stuff back from your graveyard, it's nice to see them dipping into that. And so I can't wait to see what else you can do with that, though I know that they did tell us the theme of the Obscura will also be that instead of just controlling the board itself and what things are being played, we also know that the Obscura will be focused on a little bit more of controlling your opponent's hand, so I can't wait to see that. Then we have the Maestro's charm. For the Maestros we get choose 1, look at the top 5 cards of your library, put 1 of them into your hand, the rest into your graveyard. Or each opponent loses 3 life and you gain 3 life. Or this deals 5 damage to a creature or planeswalker. The Maestros are the assassins, so they're a bit more direct in their approach. I like the first effect, since the first effect tells us that it's a way for you to be able to dig for that perfect thing to get the job done, whether it be an assassin, a person who's going to get the job done, or maybe that specific weapon or spell you're looking for as a player to be able to deal the damage, or to be able to remove something on the board that you need, or just to be able to finish the game off. So the Maestros are a bit more planned out, it seems, and I like that with the Maestros because it's better to have vampires that you can kind of plan around with, and this is a great way to go on the theme of you're searching for that perfect thing, which is they're very high class, so it makes sense that they would only want to do something with the perfect card, but also that they are assassins, which is where the daggers come from their logo. So it's not just that they're searching for something perfect that they want to play, they're searching for something specific to deal with you, and I like that. Very on theme. We also have the Broker's Ascendancy. At the beginning of your end step, this is an enchantment. We did already see this before. At the beginning of your end step, you put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control and a loyalty counter on each planeswalker you control. I was really excited about the Broker's Ascendancy because having an enchantment that can continue to add loyalty counters to your planeswalkers seemed a bit strong to me. And now that we've seen a bit more of the story, we know that we can expect to see Tezzeret, Elspeth, and shoot, I forget the other one. They just told us about it. But we can see, I think it's Obix, it's the demon planeswalker that they're bringing back for this set, since we're dealing with demon mobsters. So I'm looking forward to seeing this combo with maybe seeing some more of those planeswalkers back. We know since Elspeth is such a big part of the story, since she's back and she's now found her home, that we've been told that this is her home plane. And this is the first time we found out about it. We're really excited to see what she does with it. We also know that she's working with the Maestros in an attempt to find out more about the Phyrexians. That way she can continue to fight them. So That may mean that we don't see her in the brokers, and so this enchantment doesn't make a whole lot of sense for her specifically as a planeswalker. But since she's normally a white planeswalker, her devotion tends to just go white, and she's only working with the Maestros because she needs to. I don't think they'll change her color devotion. It may stay white, which should mean that we can see her maybe being run in the Broker's deck, even though she's not necessarily working with that family. We also saw each of their lands. Just to touch on that again, we have one for each of the families, and what's really good about them is, for one, they have cycling for 3. You can discard them and draw another card, but also that they produce one of 3 colors for the family, and they count as a non-basic land, but they count for the devotion that they're providing you. So like if we're, say, Zeoder's Proving Ground, for instance, where you're getting a black, red, or green, the land itself counts as either it counts as all swamp, mountain, and forest, which is really good because there are a lot of spells out there that you can run in your commander decks where you can pull a specific land from your deck that's non-basic. And that will allow you to fetch this. The next card I want to talk about is the legendary human that has the red-green devotion. It's Elmar, Ulvenwald Informant. So he's 3 mana, 1 red, 1 green, 1 of any color. He's a 3/2 with haste, and his ability is whenever you cast your second spell each turn, untap target creature and then investigate. In case you don't remember the investigate ability, it allows you to create a clue token, and if that clue token is an artifact that it has the ability for 2 mana, you can sacrifice it and draw a card. And this creature also has the ability Friends Forever, which is an ability that allows you to run a second commander so long as they both have Friends Forever. And he's a legendary creature, so of course he would qualify to be a commander. They also showed us Cecily Haunted Mage, which is a 4 mana, 1 blue, 1 black, 1 red, 1 of any color. A 3/5 legendary human wizard. It says your maximum hand size is 11. And whenever this attacks, you draw a card and you lose 1 life. Then, if you have 11 or more cards in your hand, you may cast an instant or sorcery spell from your hand without paying its mana cost. And this creature also has the Friends Forever ability. They also showed us Bajorna Nightfall Alchemist, which is a 1/3 legendary human. Taps and sacrifices an artifact, and he deals 1 damage to target creature, and then you goad the creature, which is that creature attacks each combat if able until your next turn, and it attacks a player other than you if able, and also has a Friends Forever ability, and is a 1/3. And the Friends Forever is it's commander only, so these are cards that are going to be good for our commander players out there. They also showed us, and these are the promo cards for the set. So the other one, you'll notice that the symbol on these cards each have a different symbol than the set symbol. These are just the promos that they showed us that we can expect with a set. We have Arvinox the Mind Flail for 7 mana, 3 of which must be black. Is a legendary enchantment creature horror, a 9/9 that it isn't a creature unless you control 3 or more permanents that you do not own. And at the beginning of your end step, you exile the bottom card of each opponent's library face down, and for as long as those cards remain exiled, you may look at them, you may cast permanent spells from among them, and you may spend mana as though it were mana of any color to cast those spells. Pretty normal for blue-black. This one has heavy black devotion. Another promo is a land, the Havengold Laboratory. Taps for a colorless mana, or tap 4 mana, tap it to investigate, and at the beginning of your end step, if you sacrifice 3 or more clue tokens this turn, you can transform it. And it transforms into Havengold Mystery, and it says that when it transforms, return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield, and when the creature is put onto the battlefield with this card, leaves the battlefield, then you transform this back. But until it does transform back, you can tap it, pay a life, and add a black mana to your mana pool. Alright, next up they showed us another promo to expect is Warnock Rider's Chaplain, which is a 2 mana, 1 white, 1 black. He's a 1/2 legendary creature human who also has a Friends Forever ability. Whenever he enters or leaves the battlefield, each opponent may investigate. Each opponent who doesn't loses 1 life. You investigate X times, where X is 1 plus the number of opponents who investigated this way. They also showed us Sophina Spearsgate Deserter, 4 mana, 1 red, 1 white, 2 of any color. A 4/4 legendary human soldier with menace, with Friends Forever. And whenever this attacks, investigate once for each non-token attacking creature. Then they showed us Oathflame, Sigardian Outcast, 3 mana, 1 green, 1 white, a 2/2 legendary human with Friends Forever. Tap 2 mana, tap this, choose target creature card in your graveyard. That was put there from the battlefield this turn, return to the battlefield tapped. And finally, for the commander stuff, we saw Hargiled Kindly Rune Chanter, a 4 mana, 1 white, 1 blue, 2 of any color. Legendary human with Friends Forever. He's a 2/3 who taps for 2 colorless mana, but you spend this mana only to cast artifact spells or activate abilities of artifacts. So, and this would explain some of the rumors we've seen about the 98 card commander decks, because we do know we're getting 1 commander deck for each of the families, but the deck list on Amazon lists them at 98 cards, so this would explain that when they come out, we'll probably be seeing the Friends Forever ability as opposed to the partner ability that we're used to seeing. So that way you can run 2 commanders and be able to, and with these having, each of these Friends Forever ones have 2 colors, whereas most of the partners usually have 1. So with the Friends Forever ability, what's really good about that is if you run 2 commanders with the Friends Forever, then you've got 4 colors that are being covered that you can run in your deck. So I think it ends up being pretty good. And those are all the cards that we know of so far. Not a whole lot from just Streets of New Capenna, because the Friends Forever cards are ones we've seen before. They just are promos that are being reprinted. So we haven't really seen a whole lot just for this one specific set. Just a little bit of a sneak peek. They've been doing some hype building. So look forward to seeing a larger dump later in the future where I can go over all of the cards that they are releasing as they release them. We'll probably be doing the same schedule we did last time, where we post a video later after the reveals already happened. So if you want to check it out before you see our video, then feel free to check out magic.wizards.com and check out their card gallery. They try to keep it updated, though they don't always. Nothing's out for Streets of New Capenna on there yet, so until then, I will see you next time.